Like, don't at me.
And I think also going back to what you said about quiet versus being outspoken, that is true. I visibly saw when LeBron quit on some of his past teams. Everybody saw the Cleveland Boston series in 2010. I think it was I think they were up 2-1. I don't even remember how that series ended, but they were the prohibitive favorites. It was going to be finally the showdown of Kobe versus LeBron in the finals that we never got. And he fell apart. And you could see in that series when he just kind of, his body language changed and you realize he's gone. It was like, I don't think he's gone, but he might be gone. I think he's gone. And I'll give myself credit for this. When he was in Miami, watching that final series against against the Spurs, I don't think anybody, or at least not many people, were thinking this is the last series LeBron will play with the Heat. But I remember thinking, I tweeted, I said, if this is a short series, he's gone. Because I realized the team that he had was starting to be over the hill. Dwayne Wade wasn't the same player he was anymore. Bosh,
he was pretty old. He's old.
Fine. Bosh's fine, but it's not, okay, how are you making this team better? You can't trade Wade from the Heat, even though, he eventually left from the Heat. But at the time, you're like, I'm not going to trade Wade to upgrade and keep LeBron here. You can't really get much for Bosh, I don't think. Maybe a bunch of smaller pieces. And other players around them, they started doing the LeBron thing that they always do, where they start getting older guys because they've been there before. And they're like, well, they'll eventually suck, but they're good for this year. Well, the eventually they'll suck comes sooner than you think. Year 2, year 3, you're like, well, shit, now these are unmovable pieces. He went to Cleveland, did the same thing. He didn't quit. I didn't see him necessarily... Well, actually, that was the series, the JR game, where he's sitting there like, what the hell are you doing? With the JR Smith,
JR's cold. JR's cold. And it's an honest.
But I think with that, you kind of saw too that but to your point, in each of those moments, he kind of just like bit his lower lip, didn't say shit about it, didn't address it, and just kind of moved on. Okay, I made up my mind, I'm gone. Whereas you're saying with Kobe, it was more like let's be assertive. Let me tell you what I feel. Here's where I stand.
I just feel as if it's just telling it like it is. It just has to be known. And I just feel like some things have to be said because they hit different. So if you look me in the eye and you're telling me something, but we know this, but you don't say it, it hits me different. So with LeBron being quiet, I'm not saying he's lesser of a man,
right?
But I'm feeling he's lesser as a leader because you have to address those issues. If you're going to be a captain, you take responsibility.
Which the interesting thing about this is the age difference between Kobe and LeBron.
Exactly.
So Kobe, I think he was 43 when he passed. This we can fact check, but he was 18, 17 when he joined the league in '96. So he was probably born 79. LeBron.
Oh, he's actually my dad's age, I believe. So 70, 71. No. My mom's, I believe.
Okay.
77, I think.
Okay, that might be, yeah. And we'll fact check this, probably. LeBron, born in '84?
I think they're the span of 4 to 6 years.
Yeah.
And that's a lot.
So, and we've kind of established, at least our opinions have established, that the younger the generation, the more technologically connected the person was, maybe they're not as good with being assertive and being direct and facing, hey, this is what it is. So maybe Kobe's a little bit more, the old school, the old head that's like, nah, man, fuck that. Like, here's where I'm at. And then LeBron is more of the, okay, I'm going to tweet about this to let you know how I feel.
See, then that's what I hate about the technology. Like, why do you have to why do you have to depend on social media?
Right.
Stand in front of a camera, grab the microphone and say what you have to say, because there's a lot of gray in there. Black and white is social media. I send you a text message, I'm mad. I could be angry, I could be sad mad. You know what I mean?
Right.
There's too much, it depends on your perception.
Tone. Yeah, there's no body language.
Exactly. So I feel as if LeBron should should be. LeBron should be able to stand in front of the camera and say what he has to say. Like the whole thing between him and Kyrie Irving. You know?
Right.
And Kyrie Irving's, did Kyrie Irving
Kyrie
depart
was
before
kind of
or
like,
after
I'm
LeBron?
Because Kyrie didn't want to deal with the whole LeBron, media circus and circle and all that.
Or even being lower than LeBron. He wanted to be something.
Right. And I mean, LeBron said, hey, I'll give you the keys to the car. I want to groom you to be the replacement, but I guess he just wears on people in a different way. Because Kobe, it didn't seem like he wore on people, even though you would think with his personality, asshole, in your face, call you out if you make a mistake. But kind of like Jordan, I think people respected that because they knew, okay, you're here to win. I think with LeBron, maybe people think more about it's about his image,
Yeah.
And he's not gonna call you out on something. He's gonna be more of like, hey, our clique is gonna alienate you, and then our team's gonna trade you. And that's kind of how we're going to handle the breakup, right?
And that's not keeping it business.
And I might be leading here with the question, but I'm just guessing, like, based on what you're saying, that's kind of like the makeup of that. And that's surprising to me because I would have thought, okay, Space Jam 2, the icon. I guess when you think of it this way, maybe LeBron's approach to building a brand was more intentional and more concerted than somebody like Kobe, which maybe you're saying was a little bit more organic, a little bit more true to just being gritty,
just
speaking
naturally
your mind.
happened versus planned. I know what you mean. Like an integrated
I'm guessing.
approach.
I mean, maybe that's the bigger difference, right? So, you tell me. I mean, is there anything I'm missing? What else? I mean,
I don't know. Have you ever watched the Kobe Bryant documentary?
I don't think I have actually. No.
It's just maybe I just familiarize myself with him. And that just goes off of like people familiarizing themselves with just movies. And how we were going back to talking about how people find out who they are through identity.
Yeah.
Well, we find out who we are through exposure.
Yeah.
So I associated myself maybe with more Kobe Bryant because my dad was a Lakers fan.
True.
Maybe if my dad was a Cavaliers fan, I'd be like, oh, LeBron's this great person, blah, blah, blah. It's always, like you said, it's not right or wrong. It's just like, we just can't come to an agreement because we just know too much about other people,
Right.
So like, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. But what I found crazy is how LeBron was chosen for Looney Tunes besides Kobe. I'm not saying the idea is not there. What I'm saying is just like,
I think the timing was a lot of it too. I think now enough time, 25 years in between. I think if you're going to put Kobe in Space Jam, it would have had to have happened 10 years ago. And at that point, it's 15 years, which isn't necessarily nothing, but 15 versus 25 years apart, that feels like maybe time influenced most when it was created. And again, the LeBron thing with he's a media mogul. He's got all these TV shows and everybody likes LeBron. He's easygoing and this, that, and the other, and he's got the shop. But I'll give him credit though, man. Like the guy knows what he's doing. He knows how to. Chance called him the quintessential millennial in an early on episode because it's true. He knew how to use technology. He understood kind of modern day how things work. I'll give him credit for just kind of peeping game and like
using it to his advantage.
And using it to his advantage.
Because bad publicity is publicity.
I mean,
Damn, that was a good one.